Alright, my lovely pups, let's talk about Vigor. Follow me on twitch.tv Okami Riku for live streams, and the PAX Hunt on both Twitter and Instagram. Alright guys, so first off, I want to actually thank Terminals.io for giving me a key to review Vigor. I want to thank Charles and Victoria from Terminals.io for this opportunity. I've already made a blog post which will be linked down below about Vigor and our feelings about it. Silpor and I have both been playing the game, and we go at it with two different styles of play. Silpor goes guns blazing and goes into firefights and does a lot of the combat. Me, I'm not much of a shooter person. And the reason why I found interest in Vigor is because Vigor is not your typical shooter. So it's not like all the other ones out there where you go into combat, and as you do combat, your weapons level up, and then as you level up, new weapons become unlocked. That's not how this works. No. Vigor added a component that appeals to me, which is gathering and crafting. So you start off in this little shabby little hut that you found to take refuge. There is a story behind Vigor as well, and I'm not going to ruin the small little story behind it. And you basically go in and you have all these things that you need to upgrade. You have a crafting table to craft bullets, guns, healing items, things that you need. And the more you upgrade that table, more access you get to stuff. And then you actually have like a garden that if you upgrade that, you'll get food and berries from it. You have a lumber area to get materials from, and you need materials to build and upgrade items. So there's a lot of waiting. There's time aspects to this. But when you go into the battlefield, you have the option to seek out battles with people, or you can avoid them and gather resources from vehicles that are abandoned on the road, from the abandoned houses, and stuff like that. So I spend my time doing a lot of gathering. Silpor spends a lot of his time shooting. And then the other interesting aspect of this is, like, unlike other shooters, when you go into battle, you come out, you still have your gear with you. That's not how this works. If you die, you lose your gear. They do have a safety net. It uses an in-game currency, and it does have a pay area where you can pay to get coins to, have those aspects. Or, what I really like about this game is that you don't have to spend any money. They have a part in the game. You have to, build it and reach it, and, we strove for that. We strove and worked hard to be able to get to the point where we built the part of your safe haven that actually generates coins. And then you don't have to spend money. You just generate coins. So you don't have to pay for things if you don't want to. Unlike a lot of the other games, some things don't get unlocked unless you pay for it. There's ways around that in this game where, it generates the coins, it generates the in-game currency, but there's just these things that you have to do, and so we both took our time learning the different aspects of it, and it brings an aspect to a shooter that you don't find in most games. And that's what I like about it, is that you lose your equipment if you die. You have to gather materials to build more equipment. You have to find equipment and make it out alive in order to do that. And it's not a timed scratch that for a second. It's a timed arena where you have a set amount of time to do everything, and after a certain amount of time, it forces you to leave. But you can leave at any time. You could be in there for 2 minutes and decide to leave. You could be in there for 5 minutes and decide to leave. You don't have to stay there for the full time. Unlike most of the other shooters where you're in the battlefield until one or the other party loses. Everybody on the map could be wiped out and you wouldn't even know it. Everybody in the map could have left and you wouldn't even know it. And the only thing that forces you to leave is there's a timer that goes off and then radiation starts to go across the battlefield. And you need to leave or else the radiation kills you. And then, you lose all your stuff. Everything that you collected and all your equipment. So, it eventually forces you out of the battlefield. But the thing is that even if you're the last remaining soul on the battlefield, you don't know that. And that's even more fun, is just going into the battlefield and, gathering or killing, and then you're like, am I the last one alive or am I not? Should I chance going for the big, win at the end, or should I leave? There is a part where, towards the end of the battlefield, a package is dropped off, and I loved during Christmas that they did a Santa Claus one, where Santa dropped off a package of goodies. But the thing is that you don't know if there's other players around. You can check, there's scanning devices, but it's like, do I chance going for that big bag, or do I just leave with what I've got now? You have to gauge your survivability. You have to gauge, can you walk out with stuff? And even though they have an aspect that lets you protect things that you pick up in your gear, it does not qualify for that big package at the end. So like, you literally, if you go after it, you have to make sure you can make it out alive. So there's a lot of judgment calls you have to make. You have to listen for other battles. Do you want to join the battle, or do you want to avoid the battle? Do you want to just gather, or do you want to fight? And so, I don't know. This is like one of the few shooter games that have caught my attention, and it's literally that crafting, gathering aspect that, catches my attention. Silpor can be the one to do all of the fighting. But because of the aspects they brought in, we value this game pretty highly. There are some small glitches. It's a free-to-play game on the Xbox and Switch. Now, I say free-to-play because the game is free, but the Xbox requires you to have Xbox Gold. The Switch requires you to have the online aspect of the Switch. So technically, you have to have those memberships to actually play it. But the game itself is free. And it has little minor glitches, and they're always working on it. They do talk to their community about some stuff that's going on. So even with the glitches and stuff like that, we have decided that the game is an 8 out of 10. That is our score for Vigor. So we rank it pretty high up there with other games that we've played. I suggest people who have Xbox Live or even Switch Online to give it a try. I've never played it on the Switch. We've only played it on the Xbox. So I can't exactly go into details about how it handles on the Switch. But overall, it handles smoothly on the Xbox. If you have spotty internet, that might cause some problems and disconnects. But as long as your internet is stable and good, you should be fine. With that, other than that, there's not much else I can say about it unless you go and experience yourself. Because the shooting combat is like the same for most shooters, and the only difference is that gathering aspect. And the nice part is that they do have a shooting range for you to practice your shooting with specific weapons, and you don't use your bullets, because bullets are a valuable resource and of limited quantity. So always practice on the shooting range first. Especially some of these games, guns. It has some of the older guns, which might, you might need some getting used to, especially if you're used to certain other games, as for a shooter. But other than that, wonderful game to get into. We highly recommend you give it a try. Again, it's an 8 out of 10. And I want to once again thank Terminals.io and their members who gave us the opportunity to play Vigor. So a wonderful shout out to them for sponsoring, well, for letting us do the game and sponsoring it, basically. We always love checking out games through Terminals.io. So thank you again, Terminals. Thank you again, Charles and Victoria. And we will see you guys next time, my lovely pups. Stay happy and healthy.